achieve the right quality that is desired by the market.
So in terms of looking at the quality and making sure that the quality
Yes.
meets, so that then it can be able to...
Emphasis will be made on the quality, since there will be a lot of players in the field, and everybody, it will be a competition. So we'll always go for the best. And as businesses, we need to up our game in making sure we produce quality.
Thank you for that. So at the end of the day, when you look at a business, if you don't have a quality product, no matter how good the branding looks like, you'll not get the consumers to buy that. So there's the importance and reliance on the aspect of quality. So speaking now, we've had a little bit now from the Botswana point. It would be now to see, sharing the experiences as well with the African context, is to know then what interventions are being implemented by AfricZim to support African countries, including Botswana, in order to implement the ASFTA.
Thank you very much for that. There are quite a number of interventions that the bank has put in place to help implement the AFCFTA or to support the implementation of the AFCFTA. Number one of these interventions is the IATF trade fair itself, the Intra-African trade fair. I won't delve so much into the nitty-gritties. I think Genmo gave a very good background to that. But what we're trying to do with the IATF is to make sure that it is used by businesses within the continent to be able to connect. For example, the main issue that has been identified over the years has been trade and market information. So now with the trade fair, what it's doing is that it's bringing continental and international buyers and sellers into one place, which we are now calling the AFCFTA marketplace, so that people can connect and do business and also conclude business deals. Over the years, from 2018, during the first edition, we had about 1,100 exhibitors that came from across 46 countries in Africa and other countries from across the world. And what we managed to achieve during the trade fair were trade and investment deals amounting to $32.4 billion. So this is the value that actually the trade fair is doing. And the African Union Commission, actually, they created the IATF 2018 to be the first delivered initiative, even before the AFCFTA came into force in 2019. So this is what actually we're trying to do. And for the second edition, which was held, and I think most of you are very much aware, which was held in 2021 in Durban, South Africa, we managed to get participation from across 48 African countries that participated in that. And there were about 23 non-African countries that participated in that. And what we managed to achieve under that trade fair is trade and investment deals worth $42.1 billion. Now for IATF 2023, actually what we intend to do, our level of ambition is actually much higher than what we managed to achieve in 2018 and also 2021. We are targeting to attract all the 55 African countries. Botswana, for all information, they've already confirmed their participation, they've signed the contract, and definitely they'll be there. And I think my word to BITC, who are actually coordinating all these efforts at national level, is to make sure that you bring as much businesses from Botswana as possible to participate in the trade fair. So that is number one intervention that we are doing as part of supporting the implementation of the trade fair. The second one is the AFCFTA Adjustment Fund. So what the bank, working with the AFCF Secretariat, has done is that they set up a 10 billion adjustment fund. And what this fund does is basically to support countries that are implementing, or countries that have actually ratified the AFCFTA agreement, to address some of the tariff revenue losses resulting from that. I think for a layperson, what a free trade agreement does is that it enables countries to actually remove all tariff and also non-tariff barriers, so that goods can actually move freely across the borders. So now in doing that, and you know that most of the countries actually, they rely heavily on tariff revenue to be able to fund their social services as well as some of the infrastructure programs in the country. So once that is done, it definitely puts most countries actually in a very difficult financial position. So what we have done to cushion that is to provide this 10 billion fund, which countries can actually access to be able to cushion the impact. And there's also a second window under the AFCF Adjustment Fund, which is the commercial and also concessionary fund to support, for example, the private sectors. Because once you open up the borders, then it definitely means that some of the private sectors actually will definitely be exposed to competition from outside. Now, for you to be able to take full advantage of the wider market that has been created by the FCFTA is to make sure that you need to scale up. You need to make sure that you improve on your production process for you to be competitive. So they can actually have access to this fund to help them maybe change their production processes, help them also to scale up, to be able to take advantage. For example, if there is a company in Botswana which primarily focuses on the domestic as well as the SADC, the regional market. Now, once this market, since it's been opened up to all the 55 African countries, what it means that the market is now bigger. We're talking about 1.3 billion people. So that in itself actually comes as an advantage for countries to take advantage of that. Then the third element that I would like to talk about in terms of the interventions that the bank is making is what we call the African Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme. So once a trade agreement has been signed, what that means is that goods now have to start moving from point A to point B. And in this case, in the context of the FCFTA, we're not talking about goods moving from just Botswana to Zambia or South, which has been historically the trend. We are talking about now Botswana trying to look bigger and beyond just the SADC region. Trying to look at how can we, for example, there was an example that was given in terms of Botswana produces one of the best beef and also sausages. And I can even tell you that I live in Egypt, but the beef sausage that is there, I cannot even eat it. I don't even eat it as a result. So when I'm here, I make sure that I maximize as much as possible. And what we now do is that we start, ideas of trying to carry some more, and that is what we do. So and there's perhaps, I think, huge market, because right now when you go to Egypt, it's not just the Egyptians who live there. It's an open country. There are so many people. So there are so many opportunities actually that are lacking. So for me, that is now an important aspect. So now what this African Transit Guarantee Scheme does is that for goods now to move from Botswana to maybe Cairo, it means that for each and every country where your goods passes, you have to post a bond. Now, you can imagine in terms of how many bonds that you are going to post for all the countries. How many countries are there along the value chain from Botswana to Cairo? There are quite a lot. And if it's a company that needs to expand, that now causes the capital to be tied up in bonds. So what the bank has done is that to come up with this very innovative idea to come up with just one bond. So you just need to post one bond, and it will cover the entire journey. So these are some of the interventions that we're doing. And from our own calculations, in a year, it's going to lead to cost savings of about $300 million. So you can imagine, so that is money or capital readily available to be reinvested into the business. The third element that I would like to talk about, there are quite a lot actually, but I'll just focus on 5, is the African Buyers Program. I think we're talking about knowing each other. The art of business is that if you do not know your neighbors, if you do not know your business partners, then you cannot trade. So now we've unleashed the IATF, which is actually addressing the aspect of the trade market information. So you get to know each other. People get to know what they can get from Botswana and vice versa. So then how do we make sure that we cement that? We then now unleash what we call the African Buyers Program. So what this program does is that it reorients buyers within the continent, so that culture of just thinking if you want to buy something, you have to go to China, you have to go to India or Europe. We have to now start reorienting that so that they can start looking internally. And I think across most countries in Africa, what I've seen is that countries do have policies which they call buy local campaign, You come here, there is Buy Botswana. You go to Zambia, there is Buy Zambian campaign. You go to South Africa, there is probably South African. There are all these campaigns that we're talking about. So what now that does is that we need now to consolidate that to be able for the buyers now to be sourcing certain products from within the continent instead of actually giving business outside the continent. And my encouragement is that this actually is gaining ground. There's a lot of interest that has been generated as a result of that. And my call to action is that Botswana buyers, please enroll onto the program. If you want to know how to enroll into the program after this session, we can actually talk one-on-one, and I'll be able to assist you on that one. Then the other element which was partially touched on by Genmo in his presentation was what we call the emergence of the export trading companies. We know that the structure of most industries in the African continent are actually composed of small and medium enterprises. And usually these companies, they lack certain capabilities to be able to export certain products. They might be producing good quality products, but they do not have the volumes and also the capabilities to be able to meet the administrative elements that actually are required for them to be able to export. So these ETCs, what they do is that now they're aggregators, so they aggregate. They identify the SMEs or the medium enterprises that actually have the productive capacity, and then they actually aggregate those products, and then since then they've got the capacity to export. So we are actually providing financing also for those ETCs. And my call to action is that if there are ETCs currently present in Botswana, please, you can refer them to us, and then we'll be able to engage further. Then the other element that I would like to talk about is the African, is the automotive strategy, or the automotive sector, which the bank actually has worked on with the African Air Safety Secretariat and also the EU to make sure that we develop a viable auto industry in the continent. When you look at the parts that go into the manufacturing of just one automobile, you're talking about one car taking up to 32,000 parts. And surely, I think some of the cars that you see are talking about leather. Some of them, actually, they've got leather seats. Some of them, actually, they've got certain just simple things that can go into that. And we know that in Africa, actually, there are certain elements that we can actually produce that can also be part and parcel of the parts that go into the manufacturing or the assembling of those motor vehicles. So we are working with the African automotive manufacturers to make sure that we identify those elements using the funding that the bank has provided, so they can take advantage of that, so that Africans, entities, African business could also participate into what we call the regional value chains, so that certain elements or parts that we produce, we manufacture, where we've got the manufacturing capability, can also go into that. In that way, we won't just be the consumers of motor vehicles from outside, but we'll also make sure that we are also adding value to that. I think, Madam Moderator, in the interest of time, I think I'll just focus on those five, and then we can talk about other aspects if time permits. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And that's quite extensive, like from the first speech that we had, and then we're hearing more products. So it's talking about the whole ecosystem that we're trying to build, right? How do we support those who are coming out into export? How do we make sure they have quality? How do we finance? And how do we actually give that competitive edge? Now, we will more or less reel into the IATF, because that's the platform that we're talking about. And I think, Callistus, you can give a good context for those who are present, like what are the opportunities for what are the opportunities that the Intra-Africa Trade Fair would offer for the businesses coming from Botswana if they were to participate at the IATF?
All right, thank you very much, Winket. Good afternoon, everyone. I think for me, the very fact that I'm standing on this panel today, it's due to our participation in the Inter-Africa Trade Fair in 2021. It gave us the opportunity to be able to showcase our products to a larger and a more targeted market. The event itself attracts visitors and exhibitors across Africa. So I think for me, what it did for us as a business is just to enhance our brand visibility, and recognition as well, hence why the invitation today. So another thing that also we benefited or we've managed to, I see as an opportunity, is the networking opportunities. The event itself, because it brings together different industry experts, buyers, potential clients, it creates an ideal networking environment in the sense that, even before the event itself, you then have profiles of who's attending, either as a buyer or either as a client, and then you're able to schedule those meetings to prior. So as opposed to sometimes just going there and get to meet people who just sort of pass by, you are able to have more strategic people that you really want to meet, and this you're able to do prior to the event. I think for me also, it's, having these, from my experience, having some of these engagements can lead to valuable connections, partnerships, either strategic or other potential clients. And for us as a business through the 2021, we've been able to identify two key partners. Just before we left, we were working on launching a manufacturing division within our business. And while we were there, we were able to identify a supplier for one of the raw materials. And come to think about it, they're just right next to our border, Zimbabwe. And for all along, we've just been thinking things must be coming from the 4 countries that I can mention. But it was quite interesting to realize not only that they can become a supplier, but it was also quite interesting to realize how much they are advanced, how much they're knowledgeable, how much we can learn off, and how much really the products that, or the impact that they have in Southern Africa, just from Zimbabwe. You hear things coming from SA, but when you sit down with them, they say, no, but these things are manufactured in Zim. So I think for me, that was one of the key things when it comes to networking. And I think another thing became one strategic partner who was coming from, supplier who was coming from Kenya, Rwanda, who are also manufacturing with the primary market being export to the US. I think also we've managed to sort of, work on some signages. I've already been to the setup in Kenya, quite amazing to find 2,800 people manufacturing. It was quite amazing. And they're also planning to come here before the end of the year. And all that happened because of participation in the event itself. And furthermore, I think there's also an opportunity for market research, because what then happened is that the event itself gives you access to a market landscape, and you're also able to analyze your competitors at that continental stage. As you walk around, because it's been mentioned that there are 2 who participate, those who are exhibitors and then those that are walking around for opportunities. I think what happened is that as you walk around some of these stalls, it allows you to be able to interrogate, to appreciate, to analyze the offerings, and that alone you are able to then understand, see where they're getting. You're able to see where there are opportunities, and you're also able to have insights. You're able to get valuable insight that you can also use in your own business to try and expand. Because now as you move around, like for instance, we work around a couple of stores that you realize that they've got an offering that we didn't have. And we then realized to say, you know what, maybe this is where the market is moving. And it's high time we position ourselves in that space. So I think good market research for anyone, any business personnel in the room. And then also, what I also liked about the event itself is that there's a lot of learnings. There's a lot of learnings because I realized that they're very specific or targeted industry workshops. As opposed to being put up in one room and expected to grasp everything. There are very specific workshops that you are then targeted to. If it's my industry, I'm able to attend without not going to across wanting to be in every other room. So I think for me that was very valuable because the learnings that we got. I remember being in one of the workshops, and when I heard the secretariat, it's still vivid in my mind what he said, that whoever thought 20 years ago that Lesotho would be able to penetrate the highly complex US market. When he mentioned that, you then awaken and realize that it's possible as an entrepreneur. You're able to understand other journeys and understand other stories. Then you about the short haul. You need to really think business more of the future. If Lesotho has been able to penetrate 10 years ago, like he said, who would have ever thought? So in what we're also trying to do is just sort of build resilience. And as an entrepreneur to say, you know what, maybe let's not do business in the context of just a regional or country-wide, national, but we should have an open mindset to say, how do we also penetrate regional, and eventually how do we also get to the continental? And then I think for me, another key thing that I really took out from there was the feedback. You know, the feedback that we got from the clients. We went there as an exhibitor, and when we went there, like I said, we had just expanded into manufacturing, and the product that we took there was the medical scrubs. But I think somewhat we made a mistake, or it was a good thing, because while we had the medical scrub on one end, we also had the corporate wear in terms of suits in one end. And quite interestingly, we thought 80% of our conversations will be around the medical scrub, which is coming out of COVID. And a lot of countries, Botswana, it's being one of them, we've been too dependent in importing these things. You know, and we thought maybe there's an opportunity for us now, let's manufacture, let's be able to have readily available to be able to meet the market demands quicker. And little did we pay attention to the corporate wear. And everybody who passed at that store, I mean, I've never seen so many dollars. You know, people will come and say, we want this suit. Can we buy it? And I said, well, no, we're not selling. I said, you don't want money. You know, and I'm thinking, maybe we should reshift our model. We should not provide what we think. We should be able to provide what the customers, trust me, believe me, we saw dignitaries come into our store wanting to take it out of a mannequin and said, here's the money, can you deliver it to my room? And for me, I think that was an awakening that sometimes as businesses, we need to be solution-oriented. You know, there's what I'm passionate at, there's what I'm thinking it's a need, what I think it's a need. But I think being in these platforms, then you're able to get real-hand inside information from your consumers. And it is that information that you can then use to be able to shape or reshape your strategy. And in that way, it allows to give you a competitive edge in whatever you're trying to do. So I think for me, those are some of the takeaways that I believe this event, one, it was able to instill so much confidence, you know, being able to see people just come in. I mean, like I said, we grew up knowing that if you're taking a suit, it's a white man's thing. But when you see a white man standing by your stall and say, please, can I buy it? I remember there was one day where one of the excellencies, I think it was from Cairo, Egypt, he sent a team to the stall and said, our excellency says we must get this. So then you come back in our country and say, you know what, maybe let's these platforms. So I think for me, those are the benefits I'll say anyone in the room considering. We often, yes, I know also the first time when I came across it, the fact that it was in South Africa, you think it's too far, it's probably too costly. And usually it's a fact. We always think the money aspect and just put it before everything else. But the minute that you were there, the minute that you get there, and you realize and you look at other entrepreneurs and you realize that, you know what, this is a very good platform. And also the minute you start engaging and talking to these other entrepreneurs, either you realize you sometimes share the same challenges, you come up with ideas of how you can overcome them, and you realize that it's a very good platform. So I think for me, it really opened our eyes to the global trends and just how Africa as a whole, if they could be able to work together, I mean 1.3 billion people, think about everybody wearing whatever they're wearing in the room right now. Honestly speaking, I don't have to be a prophet whatsoever, and I can tell you 99% of what has been worn today, it's export. But imagine now if anybody in the room can then try to say, I'm going to do my business with the view of capturing the African market. I know Botswana, one of the things we always say is that we're a 2 million population, but quite funny enough, some people kept saying, no, you're not 2 million, you're only 300,000, because those are the people who are disposable. And some will even break it down and say 50,000. But truth of the matter is we need to undo that narrative and the status quo and realize that we are a 1.3 billion market. And that is because of
Thank you for that emphasis and sharing the story and giving them the context of what the experience is and what you also learned and seeing how you adjusted your market to the opportunities that also benefited you out of that IATF experience.
Sure.
So we've heard from your experience in terms of business, and I would like to throw this question back again to Temo with regards to then why is it important to have both public and private sector participating? So then we can at least tie it.
Thank you. I believe the benefits to the private sector have been well articulated by Kali in terms of his experience from participating in the past events. Probably what I can speak to is to assure the private sector here that we have already booked space for IATF 2023, which will be in Egypt in November. But the participation of BITC will be meaningless if there is no private sector from Botswana participating in that event. We wish to appeal to you when we do flight and expression of interest for you to participate, to actually come on board. And we do support your participation by going on a 50-50 cost-sharing basis with the private sector for some of the costs. For example, if you want to participate there, we are able to ship your samples free of charge. We are able to arrange B2B meetings on your behalf free of charge. We are able to offer you local transportation once you are there to attend meetings. And we don't only organize meetings within the fair. If you have specific interest of meeting other stakeholders outside the trade fair, we are able to do that. We are able to pay for translation costs on your behalf in non-English speaking countries. So we can work with you. We don't only do that, we actually help in terms of building export readiness of companies, which means even prior to you going there, we are able to give you market intelligence about any market of interest that you may want to benefit from. This is to prepare you such that when you go and participate in a fair like this, in advance you have that information that has been mentioned, that you need market intelligence, and that's something that we are able to provide at BITC, to scan markets for you and tell you where real opportunities lie in terms of specific products that you produce. So for us, really, we are on your side as the private sector to make sure that IATF becomes something of value to you when you do participate. Of course, we always expect you to carry some of the cost, like getting yourself there, because we will be buying a booth on your behalf free of charge. So that it becomes meaningful for all of us, we expect the private sector to participate. So for us, participating in such an event is about getting export orders. It's about helping you as the private sector to meet the right buyers for your product. So at the end of the day, for us, what we are chasing is an increase in exports. So these platforms, the reason why we attend them at the end of the day is to grow our exports, and that's the main outcome that we are chasing really as we attend. From the government side, I believe we have many platforms where we are able to engage with other governments on policy issues that can shape the future of our continent. But for private sector, really, we put your interests first in this event so that you get maximum value from participating. We have an exporter development program. If you are not currently exporting, we are able to transform you from being an exporter to an exporter. We do various capacity building programs. We are able to work with experts in your area of operation to help you, whether it's about quality improvement of your product, whether it's about designing your export marketing plans, whether it's about attaining quality standards that are required by the export market. We help you with those. So the offering is there at BITC really support exporters from this country to be competitive out there. So I'm putting it out there for you to say, let's have a conversation with us so that we can enhance your businesses. Thank you.
And that's quite enriching, right? So all the businesses here should not be worried about IATF. They should be coming to you to support them to be able to participate and have even something similar, if not even better, to what you're having for what they're planning for the 2023 experience. And so I would want to tie this up so that we can now open up to the audience with you, Rebecca, with regards to your company, and maybe just give a little bit of an insight to what your company does and what you see as the opportunities that the ASFTA then can bring to taking your business to the next level. Yeah.
Thank you. My business deals with diamond polishing and sorting, packaging, tools and accessories, equipment and machinery. It's a hard market to penetrate, but yes, we are working on getting that exposure and getting the customers to trust us, because I think most of the times the worry is about quality. They would want to know how you source your products, how you get your products, and what assurance you're giving them with the quality of the products. So yes. And then the opportunities that I see for my business is building relations, creating relationships with other stakeholders for easy access of raw materials, for easy access of getting our goods easily, with the trade barriers being reduced or alleviated. We'll be able to ship our goods easily. We'll be able to get our goods in time. And this sometimes would affect us in the sense that when you're supposed to be working on the proposals, you're still trying to figure out what are the tariffs going to be, what are the charges that you need to incorporate in the pricing that you are doing. So with this being now eased up, I think it's going to be an opportunity for us to grow our business and also to excel in the business. I think also it will ease up the importation of our raw materials. So this is an opportune time for me to go far with the business.
Thank you very much for giving that positive attitude, seeing
Yes.
the access to the raw materials, talking about quality, and having the trust towards your products.
Yes.
And now that everybody's talking about, we talked about with Norman, the land of diamonds, we're seeing that there are businesses, African businesses, that are willing to actually do that and not talk about raw material out, but also doing the value addition, which has been one key topic that has been brought up in the presentation so far. So I would like to now open up, to the audience. It's not just about the people seated here. You should also have your questions. I would request that we have two ladies with a microphone who are around. So if you'd kindly have a question, you'll just stand up, and then they'll bring it to you. Make sure to introduce your name and where you work so that then we can take your question. So anyone who has a question, comment, remark, advice, from the audience? Hey, no one has a question? Even asking him how you can get started to go to IATF. Yes, sir, please. There's one. Okay, please stand up so that we can see you. Two, three, okay. Yes, please.
Right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this amazing panel. I just wanted to remark, especially to the government of Botswana, that thank you so much for connecting our entrepreneurs and what they are producing, which is really deeply connected to how far we've always suspected Botswana products and services can go as far as IATF. And also to IATF, thank you so much for, I've never known Africa. I knew Africa is great in context, But the video you're watching earlier on was actually showing us the picture of the trade if it was to happen from one African country to the other. So thank you so much for opening my mind, and I thought I should just add that. It's my hope that when it's happening in November, we'll also be there.
And your name, please?
Oh, Hoitimang Kuitafal.
And where do you work?
I work in the media space. I host the government's morning show on radio.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. The importance of media and covering, the stories of IATF. There was a gentleman at the back, and then we come back to the gentleman. Yes, please, if you could stand so that they can bring the microphone to you. And your name and organization, please.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tsapo. I come from FNB, Botswana. I'm in a commercial banking space. So my question is pretty much directed to the gentleman from Afreximbank. So FNB is a small commercial bank here in Botswana, okay?
They're saying no.
So I think historically, within the banking space, we as commercial banks have struggled to provide funding support to your startups and SMEs that have got very thin balance sheets and no collateral. But I think there's a lot of pressure for us to participate in that space, and a lot of commercial banks are coming through to provide that type of support, but they're still not doing enough to go as much as we would like to. One of the solutions that a lot of commercial banks are exploring is partnerships with a lot of development financial institutions for them to provide portfolio guarantees that then serve as collateral for some of these startups and SMEs. So it makes conversations between the banks and SMEs a lot lighter and easier in providing that type of funding. We have started engagements, but it does look like there's a lot of interest coming from Europe, maybe your France, that is willing to provide these type of guarantees. And we are there thinking, shouldn't this be coming from an African financial institutions? So we just wanted to find out whether, as Afreximbank, you're open to these engagements such that we can reach out and find a solution to support the SMEs and startups within the space. Thanks.
Okay, so I'll take the other questions and then the panel will answer. So there's a gentleman here. There's 3, 4, and then 5, and 6. And then from there we'll stop, and then we'll have the panel to respond.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is William Murusi. I run a company called Olympia Factors, supported, encouraged, and developed by Afreximbank. I'm the factoring ambassador for Southern Africa for a number of companies, including Botswana. But I stood to ask Hilary to talk a bit about one important intervention that Afreximbank is doing to develop finance. Hilary, can you talk about AfriCard? Thank you.
Okay, all right. To the lady.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nora McGaslin from Nora Cosmetics. I'd like to know, are there any, most of the time when I attend stuff like this, I hear agriculture, manufacturing, like big things. I just want to know, is there any space for, any opportunities for the beauty industry, beauty, fashion, and creative space? And also just a personal one to Mr. Hilary. Are there black people in Egypt? I know why I'm asking that.
All right, so we had the 2 questions, and then we'll have to go to the panel. I'll go to one more round if it's allowed. Yes, the gentleman with
Hello, everyone. My name is Martin. I come from a company called iFish, which is a technology startup. So my question goes to the gentleman for Afreximbank.
Okay.
Really, we're a company that connects buyers and suppliers here locally. We built a community of around 2.3 people that do exchange services. And we want to know in how we can tap into, because I think we are doing the same thing, which is promoting inter-African trade. And within our platform, we are facilitating even the expansion of their business outside, whereby you can, at the click of a button within the platform, you can be able to get your information on the AFCTA. Maybe you are buying, you want to get a certification for rules of origin. So at the click of a button, so you can imagine it's such a powerful tool for SMEs. So how do you infuse, or how can we integrate our innovation with what you already bring so that we can continue the Lord's work?
Okay, and the last question, so that we can...
Good afternoon. Perhaps my question is to Kali. Congratulations on such a great achievement. I'm Kato, from Biju Africa. It's a youth sneaker brand, owned company from here. My question to you is, what role does telling a story to the exhibitors play, or the people that come to the exhibition play? Because perhaps the story that I share in Botswana is not the same story that South Africans share or the Egyptians share. So, and also what advice would you have? Because if I tell a story about Botswana, I'm not relating with the other African friends of mine. So what role, I think...
So the question was in terms of the storytelling, not only
basically
from...
that I feel like when you tell a story about your nation, it limits your market accessibility because you only relate with the people around your nation. So in order to penetrate the other markets, how can I relate with them? Should I position myself in a way that I talk about Shaka Zulu when I'm in South Africa, or Tutankhamun when I'm in Egypt?
So in other words, how do we change the narrative when we are talking about our business in order to penetrate to other African markets?
Yes, and selling it.
Okay. All right, so I'll allow the panel to reflect. If there's a point or something that has been raised and you'd like to add on to across the panel, please feel free. So I think, Hilary, you had quite the bulk. We can start with you and then to Kali, and then for the other panelists if they have to reflect.
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. I hope I captured the questions correctly. I think the first question I received was from Tsepo in terms of how Afreximbank would support the SMEs. The good news is that we do have actually a dedicated product and also a dedicated department within Afreximbank which actually deals with SMEs. And it was also a realization in terms of what we can do to support SMEs, because historically, as you know, it's commercial banks actually that deal with SMEs. So we have this, I could call an initiative in terms of how we could actually reach out to make sure that we deliver the services or we support the services, but to the SMEs. And the current model that we are using at the moment is that actually we work with commercial banks as yourself, because we do believe that, you're closer to the market. You're closer to the market, you understand your local market in terms of SME sector very well. So we can pick up a conversation after this, and I'll be able to actually point you to the right people within Afreximbank. But we do actually have those kind of services that we provide. Then the other one was from William. Is it Africard? Okay, Afreximbank Academy. So this is the initiative that Afreximbank actually came up with. So we do have an academy, and we provide various services in the various sectors in terms of education, upskilling, and quite a number of information. So I think what I can do is that I can point you to, you can go to our website, and then you can get a lot of information from there. But that is the space that actually we've gotten into. And we've also partnered, we're also working with other institutions to actually deliver those services closer to the people. The third question I received was from Nora. I think she wanted, there are two two questions. Perhaps I think I'll start with the second one. Well, we said, are there blacks in Egypt? Actually, you're looking at one of them. Yeah, I live in Egypt. I've been there for now close to 5 years, and I can tell you that, I mean, there are plenty of actually blacks who live in Egypt. As I said, Egypt it's actually quite open. It's also a good place to live in. So I think what I would encourage you to do is that maybe I think you take a visit first of all, you survey. Even me, I used to go to Egypt before I could actually move. I never even thought that I would end up living in Egypt, but here I am. You saw another black person who was speaking here again more. He also lives in Egypt. He's been there for 7 years. So yeah, there are quite a number of black people in Egypt. Now the first question that you posed was with regards to the space. Yeah, I deliberately did not actually draw so much into the IATF because we do have actually a dedicated presentation after this session. I think when you look at the program, you see that there's an IATF activation. But since you've asked that question, I think I'll try to respond. The IATF has got about 9 verticals. So there's a general trade exhibition where companies, countries could set up pavilions or stands where you could actually showcase your goods and services to the various your target market. And when you look at the IATF, it's the largest trade and investment platform or event in Africa, which brings together so many people from within the continent and also across the continent. And the advantage with, or the benefit of actually participating in the trade fair is that you meet all the countries, all the various people just in one place. That is why we're calling it that now. The IATF is now the AFCFTA marketplace. That's why you meet, you connect, and you conclude business deals. So I won't go through all of them, but I think I'll now zero in terms of the particular vertical where your interest lies, and that is the Creative Africa Nexus program. So under that program, that's why we showcase various talents, various creations across the creative sector. So we deal in issues to do with film, fashion, music, now gastronomy, and other aspects. So the sector where you feature actually is very much a part and parcel of the creatives or the CANEX program. And if you need more information, I'll be happy to actually share more information. And also just for all of you, when you actually walk in, I'm sure you saw some people outside that's from Read Exhibition. Read Exhibitions, there are trade fair organizers, and you can actually do registration on the spot to be able to participate in the trade fair. The last question, I did not get the name of the gentleman, but I think you're talking about your company actually connects buyers and sellers, and how you could actually try to collaborate with the bank. The bank actually does have a number of platforms actually that do that. As we are saying is that the agreement is there. I think now what is important is now to connect the buyers and the sellers. So we've actually deployed a number of platforms. One of it is what we call the IATF virtual platform, where you could actually place your products and on the IATF platform at the same time, there are a number of visitors, or there are a number of people actually who register, who will be able to actually look at your products, at your services. So we could actually explore avenues in terms of how we could actually work with you on that one. And also we do have other platforms such as the Africa Trade Exchange Gateway, and that is where you see a number, it's actually a platform or a marketplace where various corporations actually place their goods and services. So there are buyers there, there are sellers there. So we have this entire ecosystem which is trying to now provide that service at a continental level. So I mean, I'll be very much interested to actually get to know more in terms of how we can actually collaborate, and also how we could also tap into the network that you currently have. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary. So to you, Kali, and then I'll have one round to close so that we have enough time for the other presentations.
Okay, thank you very much. Geez, that was a very difficult one. I mean, I'm still ripping my, trying to figure out. But I see the gentleman is wearing a cap, so that could say maybe he's coming from the arts, from the creative. So I guess maybe my response will be more aligned to that. But I think for me, when it comes to storytelling, you have to be original. You have to be authentic. You have to really be unique in who you are. I mean, like I said, I'm assuming that you're coming from the creative industry. If you're talking about music, I'm sure you've seen what's happened globally, or even from South Africa, where they've been able to create their own music and speak it in their own language, and the rest of the world has followed through, and it's actually, people appreciate it. So for me, I think even when you participate in these international platforms, yes, I think the aspiration is whatever we do, we have to really pitch at that level. This is in terms of packaging, this is in terms of presentation, this is in terms of, just even in terms of how we present ourselves. But in terms of our story, every story is unique. We don't have to speak South African. We don't have to try and speak to anybody to try and impress. No, the idea is listen to our story, listen to what we want to achieve. So I would say you don't have to. I mean, I say this because not so long ago, I think when there was the first Forbes Summit, I remember somebody reached out and said, hey, listen, there's a Theobald, who's coming to the country, and why don't you think we approach him and trying to see if we could be a distributor of his shoe called Batu? And for me, my response was, that's a problem. Because we are seeing this brand 8 or 10 years later, we want to jump in, but reality is somebody has had to work on this brand 10 years. And the reason why it's a success for me in SA is because people can relate to the story. But if Botswana ke rekisa Batu, I would buy the first pair because maybe it's fashionable or it's trending. But how do I, beyond that, carry on and buy the second and the third and the fourth? Because yes, it might not necessarily be too, So that's where I'm saying the story of being unique. I think for me, you get a lot of support, you're authentic, and I would advise that be who you are. If you're at those events, still stay and remain in your lane. I think if that's how I understood him.
Okay. So the power of the story, being unique to who you are, and then that, again, retains that story that then you can be able to look at it not only from the one-time buy, but the continuous sale and the positioning and loyalty that comes with that as well.
True.
So I would like to give for you the last two statements so that way at least we can wrap up for the panel. This is to Temo and to Rebecca. So what are your, let's say, parting shot that anyone who's walking out of this room should bear in mind?
Well, from IATF's perspective, we know our challenges as a country, especially in the space of diversifying our exports. I believe, exports for us to get there is about having strong sectors that can give us those exports. So really my appeal is that, it's about working with the government to actually create jobs through the export sector. I believe you will agree with me that there is no poor exporter. I've never seen anybody exporting goods and remains poor. And also, you got to realize that we are where we are as a country simply because of exports. It might have been through just one commodity being diamonds, but our economy has always been export-led. But the challenge now is probably that product has run its course. We need to find new drivers for our next phase of growth. So we have witnessed the benefits from export being the diamond for quite a long time. So it's really upon us as the industry to really bring new products on board and SBITC, we are there to walk the journey with you, handhold you where necessary, to actually make sure that we reach our vision of being an export-led economy by 2036. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Okay.
to you, Rebecca.
For me, I think my last word will be, with every opportunity, there's a risk that comes with the opportunity. So it's upon businesses also to see if these risks, are they adverse risk, or there is an opportunity out of that risk? And how do we mitigate the risks that comes along with these opportunities? And most importantly, just to identify the opportunities that we can leverage on.
So looking at the risk and assessing what is the risk and what is the opportunity,
Yeah.
and going for that which you can be able to push forward with.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So I think we can give a round of applause to our panel, right? It was informative, yes? Hi, the audience, was it informative? You can say a yes, a no, and it was boring. It was informative, yes? So round of applause to our panelists. Thank you very much for joining us and for the information you've given. Please, you can take the stage. Yes. Thank you. All right. So we are coming close to the end. It sounds so sad, but we have to. But we have a couple of, there's a lot of questions that were asked on CANEX. There's a question on how IATF is running, and then we have our closing remarks. But first, I need everybody to stand up. I know, stand up. You'll be seeing me anytime you see me, you know I always have activities. So we've been talking about selling things, right? Yes? No. Communication is two-way. We all agree, right? Communication is two-way, okay. So I want you to sell a product. What are we selling? Are we selling mangoes or diamonds? Diamonds, okay. No one is looking at me, why would you say a mango? We are selling beef. Okay, we are selling beef. All right, so I want you to act it out. How many of you have been to acting class? No one. So this is an opportunity to do improv, all right? So I want you to sell. We are going to do a couple of emotions and we see which one you'll be able to sell. So we're selling beef. So I want you to say, I have beef. I cut the beef. I eat the beef. It feels so good. Now, if you don't convince me that that beef you're eating is good, then we are forgetting about it, okay? All right. So I have a beef. I cut the beef. I'm not seeing emotion. Please, people. I have beef. I cut beef. I eat the beef. It feels so good. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be the last one you're going to sell. So you have to sell with sadness, a little bit of sadness. It's the last one. So you have to sell to this person. No. So I have beef. You're not sad that this is the last one. People, I have beef. Yes. With who? No, not the beef that you're talking about. I see, he's not Adam. Fine. But we're still going to go with that sad beef that you're talking about. So I have beef, and I have beef with you now. Now I made it clear to you. So I have beef. I cut the beef. Do I eat the beef? See, you're not asking yourself a question. Last one, okay? Now we're going to sell diamonds, and I want you to have the confidence. So shoulders back. Deep breath. Take a stride. You're the country of diamonds, okay? So I have diamonds. I cut the diamond. I polish the diamonds. And I sell to the world. Is that clear to you all? Great. Have a seat. Thank you very much. I know, we always have to have interaction activity. So, I would like to introduce our next session with Canex. So this is time now for the creatives to bring that inspirational spark back to the physical realm. It's the power of storytelling. It's what we wear. It's what we hear. And it's time for that industry to also start benefiting once more from that immense talent. Afrexim Bank has identified the creative sector in Africa as a unique space for opportunity, of opportunity for employment, massive economic growth, and poverty alleviation, especially for Africa's massive youth demographic. The Creative Africa Nexus, or CANEX, is a rubric under which all Afrexim Bank creative industry, financial, mentorship, and development initiatives is housed. CANEX is about the business of the creative industries. It's about finding sustainable and scalable solutions for African creatives, both established and emerging. CANEX is a unique opportunity taking place in our country, an opportunity to restart and reemerging financially viable way for African creatives after 2 years of a total near economic devastation. It is free for all delegates to attend CANEX and take part in the sessions, masterclasses, and networking opportunities. CANEX at IATF 2023 is truly an event that cannot be missed for any creative from any sector who is serious about a long-term career within this exciting space. We look forward to seeing you in the event in November.
Bonsoir mesdames et messieurs, nous sommes là ce soir pour célébrer la créativité de la jeunesse africaine. Alors est-ce que vous pouvez applaudir pour vous-même s'il vous plaît ce soir?
Together, multi-talented creative entrepreneurs with the aim to shine a light on their potential. We make sure your creativity becomes a source of growth for our continent by supporting you, giving you the wings to fly. The days when African creatives IPs are taken advantage of by the rest of the world will soon be over. We will see a new dawn of global creative brands emerging for our continent.
We came here, we saw, we heard, we learned, we even danced. Our mission, essentially, to say it in a word, is to see how we can contribute to transforming our continent, to break down the 110 barriers that divide us. And together, I think we can do it.
Be proud to be African, yeah? Be proud. Seriously. If you are in the room and you've come to CANEX, give yourself a round of applause.
Make some noise for CANEX Weekend 2022.
Round of applause, right? So, as you said, we have covered it. We're covering it all at IATF. It's not just about the business, but also the spirit that we bring out through the creative industry, and that's what CANEX is presenting. So it has been such a fantastic panel, and I would want to thank all the panelists, as I mentioned before, for even giving you a glimpse, not only from the business perspective, but also from the creative perspective, what you can be able to gain out of it. So all the creatives in here, you have to think about how do you position, what is the story that you say of Botswana. So I would like to now go to the next presentation by Evanshi, who's the General Manager of Marketing, who will be letting us know more about the Intra-African Trade Fair, which is taking place in Cairo, Egypt, from the 9th to the 15th of November. And I am hoping that I'm going to be seeing you all. So are you ready to know what exactly IATF has in store for you, right? Okay, so you should have a really loud round of applause as Evanshi comes to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I can just say it's not only Winkate that's looking forward to seeing everyone in this room in Cairo. I'm also looking forward to it. You guys have been a very enthusiastic crowd this afternoon, so thank you. In order to fully realize Africa's economic potential, inter-African trade must be fostered, and the Inter-African Trade Fair is the multi-sectorial trade fair dedicated to do just that. With the goal of bringing together African buyers, sellers, and investors, African Bank initiated the biennial Inter-African Trade Fair in 2018 in collaboration with the African Union Commission, the AFCFTA Secretariat, and the third edition will be held in Egypt for the second time from the 9th to the 15th of November. IATF promotes the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area for the AFCFTA's goals to be realized. Sustainable measures must be taken to close the knowledge gap in trade and in the market. Bringing together continental and international players interested in investing in Africa, as well as provide a platform for business opportunities, exploration between buyers and sellers, we facilitate commercial networking and the creation of new prospects between business and governments. Disseminate data on the inter-African trade, investment, and markets to develop to solve problems and promote growth, and to provide information regarding African Bank initiatives, trade finance, and trade facilitation interventions. So, how do we get you to Cairo? So how do you become involved? Register as an IATF booth, as a virtual visitor, but no, guys, come on, I can see real attendees here. But you can already participate in those by attending our online events, which happen regularly. Book an exhibition booth and profit from networking with buyers and sellers. Like as I mentioned, book a space, as these are selling out quickly. We already know that BITC and Botswana have secured some space, but doesn't mean that as individuals, you can't as well. Register to attend and participate in the 7-day program, and there's an opportunity to register as a buyer if you meet the criteria. Or become a sponsor and join our partners who get the benefits of their affiliation with IATF. We provide businesses of all sizes with individual sponsorships opportunities. Please do not hesitate to contact us for more information on sponsorship. So these are just some of our partner benefits. So don't miss out on the chance to contribute to this discussion as we promote the inter-African trade. We strongly suggest that you take advantage of this offer. If you have any questions, please contact us directly, as we are happy to help you. Our website is regularly updated with the latest information. Utilize our social media networks to stay abreast of the latest developments. Please also go onto our social media platforms where you can be part of the event. And don't forget, we have a series of roadshows happening, and you can always join us virtually. Thank you.
All right, so 7 days, 7 activities. Has anybody checked out the website? Has anybody checked out the website since you got here? Has anyone asked to register? I'm hearing murmuring. There was no convincing you've been covered by BITC, you've had all this information from Kali. So am I expecting registrations after this? Yes. Great. So I'm going to just quickly present what the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry is. Because I know I just introduced myself here, and then I just, I was moderating and taking you through different sense. So for the presentation, please. All right, so while they get the presentation up, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we were founded in 2009. And this was a discussion on boosting intra-Africa trade, back then, before ASFTA was a word, yeah? The Africa, what is the ASFTA? How many of you know what we've been saying? Because if you've been saying ASFTA all this time and everybody's hanging, then that's a problem. Who knows what AFCFTA is? Okay, so can someone spell it out from the crowd? Africa? Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Someone is also adding the other A. And our purpose as chambers is to present the business community when we're talking about policies. How do we bridge between what the private sector is doing, what the public sector is doing, but beyond that as well with multi-stakeholders. So our vision is to strengthen, support, and promote the economic vitality of Africa's business community. And how we do this is that we have 5 pillars. One is on boosting intra-Africa trade, improving the productive capacity and business competitiveness, support businesses to be more resilient to climate impacts, and promote a gender-responsive entrepreneurial environment with chambers' transition to digital. In this case, Botswana to us is actually like a special place for us because we did our second biennium, not the second, we did our biennium meeting in Gaborone last year, 2022, with Business Botswana. We have different partners. This is where we also with Afreximbank, tightening up our collaboration on how do we bring everyone together into one market. It's from this meeting that we discussed about the ASFTA implementation program, environment and energy, gender representation in trade, and private sector engagement in SDGs and 2063. So the next one is going to be in Uganda in 2024, and we're hoping to see the outputs from this meeting that we're having in IATF in Cairo and picking that as a roadmap. Every event should not just be a standalone silo. We should be seeing progress. And that's why I said from the people in this room, from this room when we meet next, what was the progress that we had? So our goal, basically, when it comes to boosting intra-Africa trade, is to increase the level of awareness of business and the benefits accrued from the ASFTA, particularly the region's small business. And the second goal is to equip the leaders of business associations. I always consider a chamber like a train station. We need to have the tracks, we need to have the trains, we have to tell you where you're going, who are you going to meet there, are we able to carry all your goods? And that information, of course, comes with the partnerships that we put together. So some of the programs on this include like having a certification capacity on the ASFTA, looking at chambers and associations and how they do that. Jamii Trade Platform, I've heard about platforms from Afreximbank, and I think the push that is coming from all different parties is interportability of different platforms. And primarily why we're here, connecting African markets with the roadshow that we're having here in Botswana and the next one that will follow in Algeria, involving the diplomatic corps because people want to move. You want to do business, you want to learn about visa. I think that's one whole discussion that we always have. So we have to include also the diplomatic corps in the promotion of the intra-Africa trade fair. And lastly, we have two programs that we did on empowering marginal economic actors and how we can improve trade facilitation within the regional economic communities through trade corridors, through the trade corridors into economic corridors. So essentially, for us, we are excited to be part of this engagement, to bring you together, to collaborate with the different partners who have been here present, with the Afreximbank being our amazing host, taking this as well in collaboration with the African Union, the ASFTA Secretariat, promoted by the Arab Republic of Egypt. In this case, for this roadshow, we'd like to extend our thanks to Business Botswana, Botswana Trade and Investment Center, as well as the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Republic of Botswana for joining us to bring this information to you, and we're hoping that Botswana will come with a lot of noise. And maybe I should give you just my one story from IATF. The Ghana booth, the Ghana exhibition, I think Kali can speak to this. When everybody was packing, the last day, all the exhibitors are packing, they're like, we are done. You know what Ghana did? They opened up their boxes. Why? Because they knew the exhibitors are not going round. So they were selling, they put the music, their booth was, just engaging everybody. I went there, I bought like African black soap. I didn't even know about African black soap until I went there and beat all the experiences. I'm telling you. And they were selling everything from artifacts to products to services. And that got me thinking, that why don't we make the next one in Egypt? We need to see that. You know, when you get to a marketplace, the way people keep on shouting what their products are, we need to know what Botswana is bringing to the table. So that's my challenge to you. Are you ready for the challenge? You've already had the support that you've been given by all the speakers here, right? All right. So I would like to conclude with a message from our executive director, who unfortunately was not able to join us, but would like to extend his thanks and gratitude to the community, the business community in Botswana. So we'll cue the video.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Botswana business community, good morning. Today I stand before you with great enthusiasm and an opportunity that holds immense potential for Botswana and our continent. I'm here to discuss the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, a remarkable event taking place in Cairo from September 9th to 15th, 2023. Hosted by Egypt, the trade fair is organized by Afrexim Bank in collaboration with the AFCFTA Secretariat, the African Union, and other continental and regional organizations.
Well, I have a 1-minute buffer. I see there's a hand raised. Yes. I can't hear you. I don't have a microphone. Maybe if there's a microphone. You've not spoken more on finance, okay? Can I, because you're bringing up a point, let's just give you a microphone.
Afrexim Bank, I asked Hillary to, okay, I'm being asked to start from the beginning.
Yes.
My comment is basically on finance, which I think it has not been dealt with adequately. Afrexim Bank is a wholesale bank. As such, its thresholds and limits for facilities are bigger than SMEs. It has come up with interventions, not only for the ticket sizes of the transactions that they carry. Hillary will clarify my points. They've come up with factoring to cover small trades. And that is something that can cover any trades that are taking place. But the main reason why we suffer or have delays in accessing finance is access to information. We spoke about access to information regarding markets, but we never spoke about access to information regarding African markets' preparedness to access funding in terms of due diligence. Afrexim Bank has come up with a product called Mansa, and the Mansa product speaks to what the gentleman from there, yes, the gentleman raising the hands, mentioned. So I believe Afrexim Bank is currently working with Business Botswana. All members of Business Botswana can onboard to Mansa. The benefits of that is, number one, the product is meant to de-risk the risk perception, where Morula Holdings producing juice is said to be a small business in Botswana. But if they market with Coca-Cola, nobody doubts Coca-Cola. So that risk perception is killed. The second one is with the information being on a common portal, anybody in the world can access that business. Business Botswana, as an organization for members, has got a platform where we also have our information on that information. I think Mr. Molele should have spoken to that, but maybe he had too much on his plate. I thought I should mention that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I've been cued that we play that. And thank you very much for adding that point, because at the end of the day, we want to know what tools and opportunities are available. So it's good that you added on the aspect of factoring and finance. So we'll play the video and then we can close.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Botswana business community, good morning. Today I stand before you with great enthusiasm and an opportunity that holds immense potential for Botswana and our continent. I'm here to discuss the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, a remarkable event taking place in Cairo from September 9th to 15th, 2023. Hosted by Egypt, the trade fair is organized by Afrexim Bank in collaboration with the AFCFTA Secretariat, the African Union, and other continental and regional organizations. Now, you may wonder what makes this event so significant and why it demands our immediate attention. Well, the Intra-Africa Trade Fair is a celebration of Africa's vibrant and diverse business landscape, an opportunity for Botswana to showcase the ingenuity and potential of your enterprises to the entire continent. This event serves as a platform to foster meaningful connections, build strategic partnerships, and engage in trade that transcends borders and barriers. By participating in the fair, we can capitalize on several critical advantages. One, for example, we can expand our market. The fair presents an avenue to explore new markets and establish trade linkages with other African countries. It offers a chance to diversify our customer base and extend the reach of our products and services across the continent. Secondly, we can use the fair to exchange knowledge. Engaging with other businesses and entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds allows us to exchange knowledge, learn from each other's experience, and adopt best practices that can accelerate our growth and development. Third, we can explore investment opportunities. Investors from various corners of Africa and beyond will be present at the fair, seeking partnerships and opportunities. This is our chance to attract foreign direct investment into our ventures, bolstering our economy and creating jobs. Fourth, we can also secure access to financing. Afrexim Bank and other financial institutions will be part of this event, offering financial instruments and solutions tailored to support business like yours. Let's seize this opportunity to secure funding for our expansion plans and projects. As we take advantage of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair in Cairo, that Botswana can showcase its potential as a dynamic and progressive business hub in Africa. It will provide Botswana's business with a platform to highlight its unique offerings, attract investment and talent, and strengthen Botswana's position as a key player in the African business landscape. Now is the time to act and position Botswana's business strategically in the realm of intra-Africa trade and economic cooperation. We are here to encourage you to unite and put forth your collective efforts to make the most of this extraordinary opportunity. By doing so, you will not only shift your businesses, but contribute to the economic growth and prosperity of Botswana and our continent. I urge each one of you to embrace this chance to connect, collaborate, and grow. Let us set our sights on Cairo in November and beyond, making Botswana a shining example of African ingenuity, resilience, and progress. Thank you all for your attention, and let all of us make Botswana proud on the grand stage of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair.
Thank you very much. So in closing, it's connect, collaborate, and grow. We're here to connect African markets. Botswana presents what you are as the dot in that connection for us to finally say that Africa, we are as one. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. Thank you very much to our partners, distinguished guests. It was a pleasure for you to take the time. Leadership speaks a lot when you're present, because that shows where our importance and focus should be. So thank you very much, everyone. I would request we stand up for one last one, so that as we go and network, right, we can say we had a good time on a Friday afternoon. Is that working? Now everybody's looking at me like, why am I making you stand up? One last one. One last one. How was the event? Yay, middle, nay. Yay, it was a yay. Are we going to Cairo? Is that the only voice for 2 million people? I want you to be loud. You know, we say, let me tell you why I always make people, shout. We're always whispering, we're quiet, but your voice can go louder. So when you're given an opportunity to be loud, you need to be loud, okay? So, are we meeting at Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2023 in Cairo? Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. A round of applause as well to you, and also to our virtual participants who joined us from across the continent. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
All the best, we're stepping forward. We're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine the light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. That power, Africa, we are strong. One nation to another. See now we stand as one to celebrate our victory, riches and glory of the motherland, and nothing holds us bound. So come on, and come on, we call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for forever we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flags and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine the light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 oh. It's a new day. It's a new beginning. Higher grounds we're lifting off. Nothing holds us bound. Can you see it? The light of Africa is rising to higher grounds we're lifting off. Nothing holds us bound. So come on and come on. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Together we grow stronger and united. sky with the bright colors of your flag and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine a light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 we know we got that power. Africa, we are strong. One nation to another. See now we stand as one to celebrate our victory. Riches and glory of the motherland, and nothing holds us bound. So come on, and come on. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Forever we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flag and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine a light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 oh. It's a new day. It's a new beginning. Higher grounds we're lifting up. Nothing holds us bound. Can you see it? The light of Africa is rising to higher grounds we're lifting up. Nothing holds us bound. So come on and come on. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Together we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky, bright colors of your flag, and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine a light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 oh. are strong. One nation to another. See now we stand as one to celebrate our victory, riches and glory of the motherland, and nothing holds us bound. So come one and come all. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Forever we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flags and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine the light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. It's a new day. It's a new beginning. Higher grounds we're lifting off. Nothing holds us bound. Can you see it? The light of Africa is rising to higher grounds we're lifting off. Nothing holds us bound. So come on and come all. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Together we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flags and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, clear the lines that separate, and shine the light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh Africa, our time is now. We know we got that power. Africa, we are strong.